On July 19, 2026, at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey, Ferran Torres scored in extra time, and Spain became world champions. The players celebrated. The trophy was lifted. Lamine Yamal, 17 years old, was photographed with tears of joy. It should have been a clean, beautiful ending to one of the most turbulent World Cups in the tournament's history. It wasn't. Because what happened in the tunnel after the final whistle is now the subject of a formal FIFA Disciplinary Committee statement, a document that names specific players and specific alleged offenses, and that uses a word in the context of a World Cup that football's governing body almost never uses about one of its most prominent national teams: assault. Not unsporting behavior, not misconduct, assault, the legal and technical term FIFA's disciplinary code uses for physical attacks on other people. So, what exactly happened after the whistle blew on Spain's 1-0 extra-time victory? What has FIFA confirmed in writing? Which players are facing potential bans, and how does this fit into a pattern of Argentina's conduct across not just this tournament, but previous ones as well? Let's go through all of it, because the detail matters enormously here, and the gap between what was reported on social media in the immediate aftermath and what FIFA has now formally confirmed is significant. Start with what FIFA has actually said, because everything else should be understood in the context of the official statement. The FIFA Disciplinary Committee has received the report of the appointed disciplinary and ethics prosecutor concerning incidents that occurred during the FIFA World Cup 2026 final, and following the recommendation contained therein, has opened disciplinary proceedings for potential breaches of Article 14, Paragraph 1I of the FIFA Disciplinary Code, which covers assault against Argentinian players Nahuel Molina with 2 counts, 1 completed and 1 attempted, and Leandro Paredes with 3 counts, and Argentinian official Roberto Ayala with 1 count. Disciplinary proceedings have also been opened for potential breaches of Article 14, Paragraph 1B of the FIFA Disciplinary Code, which covers unsporting behavior against Argentinian players Nahuel Molina with 1 count and Thiago Almada with 1 count, and Spanish player Pablo Martín Páez Gavira, known as Gavi, with 1 count. Let's unpack what that actually means. Leandro Paredes faces 3 counts of assault. 3, not 1 incident, not a single moment of poor judgment at the final whistle. 3 separate actions that FIFA's disciplinary prosecutor has identified as meeting the legal definition of assault under the FIFA code. Nahuel Molina faces 2 counts of assault, 1 completed and 1 attempted, plus an additional count of unsporting behavior. That's 3 separate disciplinary matters for a single player from a single post-match incident. Roberto Ayala, who is not a player but a member of Argentina's coaching and support staff, faces 1 count of assault. Nahuel Molina was caught on camera lashing out at Spain captain Rodri, while Leandro Paredes completely lost his head and went after both Eric Garcia and Gavi. He was spotted grabbing Garcia by the throat and throwing Gavi to the floor. Grabbing someone by the throat in the tunnel of a World Cup final. And on the Spanish side, Gavi has also been charged with unsporting behavior in relation to his conduct during the same incident. FIFA's disciplinary framework doesn't issue charges against one side without examining both, and the statement's inclusion of Gavi's name confirms the investigation has reviewed the full sequence of what happened, rather than arriving with a predetermined conclusion about who was responsible for what. The proceedings are now open. The respondents, meaning the named players and officials, have been provided with the opportunity to present their position. FIFA has not announced penalties yet. Those will come after the hearing process is complete. Here's where things get interesting, because the specific charges carry specific potential consequences that reach well beyond this tournament. Under FIFA's disciplinary code, a finding of assault carries a mandatory minimum 3-match ban. Leandro Paredes, facing 3 counts, could theoretically face a significantly longer suspension, depending on how the committee weighs the cumulative nature of his alleged conduct. Molina, with 2 assault counts and 1 unsporting behavior count, faces a similarly serious exposure. Roberto Ayala, as an official rather than a player, faces potential sanctions under the provisions covering technical area personnel.
Critically, any bans that cannot be served during this tournament, which is already over, carry forward to Argentina's next official FIFA competitive fixtures. That means Copa America qualifying, World Cup 2030 qualifying, and the Copa America itself. These are not meaningless friendly match suspensions. They are bans that will affect Argentina's competitive calendar in a direct and significant way. But that's only part of the story, because the tunnel confrontation sits alongside a completely separate investigation that was already underway before the final even kicked off. After Argentina beat England in the semifinal, players were photographed and filmed holding a banner reading "Las Malvinas son Argentinas." FIFA confirmed its independent disciplinary committee is assessing the match reports and considering the relevant circumstances regarding that incident. The investigation covers potential violations of Article 34.3 of FIFA's regulations, which prohibits political messaging at football matches. The precedent that has been cited universally since that banner appeared is precise. In Euro 2024, after Spain beat England in the final, both Alvaro Morata and Rodri chanted "Gibraltar is Spanish." UEFA banned both players for 1 competitive match each. The parallel is exact, the same type of territorial political message, the same opponent, England, the same governing framework. Whether FIFA applies the same standard UEFA did, or whether the investigation produces a different outcome, is a question that has still not been formally answered. That means Argentina now have 2 separate active FIFA investigations, one into the banner, one into the tunnel confrontation, both ongoing, both capable of producing suspensions that carry forward to the next competitive cycle. This matters because it needs to be placed in historical context, because Argentina's relationship with FIFA disciplinary proceedings across multiple tournaments is not a recent development. At the 2022 World Cup in Qatar, FIFA opened a disciplinary case against Argentina for player misconduct that occurred during the final celebration following their penalty shootout victory over France. Multiple players had entered the official interview area and behaved in ways that violated FIFA's regulations. FIFA cited offensive behavior and violations of the principles of fair play. At the same Qatar tournament, FIFA opened a disciplinary case following Argentina's quarterfinal against the Netherlands, an extraordinarily contentious match in which a World Cup record 17 players or coaches received yellow cards either during or after the game. Argentina substitutes encroached on the field, and post-match taunting of Netherlands players generated images that circulated globally and embarrassed the tournament. Going back further, FIFA opened disciplinary proceedings following a brawl that delayed the start of a World Cup qualifying match between Brazil and Argentina at the Maracanã, a match that had to be suspended for approximately half an hour as rival fans fought in the stands. The pattern across multiple tournaments, multiple stages of multiple competitions, involving multiple sets of incidents, is one of Argentina's players and associated parties repeatedly reaching the boundary of acceptable conduct and sometimes crossing it. Each individual incident has its own specific context. Taken together, the pattern is sufficiently consistent that FIFA's disciplinary committee is working from a file with significant prior material. Let's make this human for a moment, because behind the formal statement and the legal language are real people who all behaved in ways connected to the most emotionally intense moment in their professional lives. Leandro Paredes is 31 years old. He has spent his career winning Champions Leagues, domestic titles, and a World Cup. On July 19th, his team lost the World Cup final to Spain, conceding in extra time, ending a campaign that was supposed to deliver back-to-back world championships. The emotional devastation of that loss, in that moment, in front of the entire world, is real and understandable.
It does not make grabbing someone by the throat acceptable, but understanding the emotional context matters for appreciating why something like this happens, even among elite professionals who have been in high-pressure situations for their entire careers. Nahuel Molina is 28. He had been one of Argentina's most consistent performers throughout the tournament. Robert Ayala is a legendary former Argentine international who knows this tournament and what it means more than almost anyone. All three were caught in the same emotional collapse at the same moment. And on the Spanish side, Gavi is 22 years old and had just won the World Cup as the defending Euro champion, an extraordinary achievement for someone his age. His inclusion in the FIFA statement as facing an unsporting behavior charge tells you that the post-final confrontation was genuinely multi-directional, rather than one side simply attacking the other. Now, here's the broader picture that connects this to the story that has dominated football governance since the tournament ended. FIFA has spent 3 weeks under extraordinary institutional pressure. The FFE private equity proposal that collapsed, 5 national federations withdrawing their support for Infantino's re-election, UEFA's document preservation order, CONCACAF's loss of confidence statement, Jordan's accusation of blackmail, the 23 million signature petition calling for Argentina's exclusion that nearly broke a world record, a refereeing controversy that touched the Egypt quarterfinal, the France semifinal, the Norway quarterfinal, the Switzerland semifinal, and the final itself. In that context, FIFA's handling of the Argentina disciplinary matter carries a specific institutional significance. Every critic of FIFA's conduct during this tournament has pointed, at some level, to inconsistency, to the sense that rules were applied differently depending on who the relevant parties were. The Egypt case, where a goal was disallowed for a foul detected 20 seconds earlier on the other side of the pitch. The Balagon red card suspension, where a competitive ruling was apparently overwritten following direct external pressure. The Banner investigation that produced no action before the final. If the Argentina disciplinary proceedings produce bans that are genuinely proportionate to what the charge sheet describes, applied without regard to who the players are or what team they represent, that is a small but significant signal that the institution's own disciplinary frameworks can operate independently. If the proceedings produce no meaningful consequences, or consequences significantly below what the 3-count assault charges described would normally carry, that signal runs in the opposite direction. FIFA's credibility with its own member associations, which is already at a historic low point, hangs partly on how this specific matter resolves. The timeline for the disciplinary hearings has not been announced publicly. The respondents have been given the opportunity to present their case, which suggests hearings are being scheduled. Whether outcomes are announced before the September international break, which would be the first competitive window potentially affected by any bans, is unknown. What is known is that Paredes, Molina, and Ayala are all facing serious charges under a code that carries mandatory minimum punishments for findings of assault, and that whatever FIFA decides, it will be scrutinized with a level of attention that no previous Argentina disciplinary matter has attracted, because it arrives in the context of everything else that has defined this tournament's governance story. So here's where things stand. Argentina lost the World Cup final to Spain in extra time.
In the tunnel afterward, a confrontation occurred that FIFA has now formally confirmed involved assault allegations against 3 Argentinian individuals. A separate investigation into a political banner after the semi-final remains open. Both investigations are capable of producing bans that carry forward to the next competitive cycle. What do you think? Should the Paredes 3-count assault charge produce a lengthy ban that genuinely impacts Argentina's next Copa America and 2030 qualifying campaign? Or do you expect FIFA to settle these cases with fines and minimal match suspensions, regardless of what the charge sheet says? And the harder question, does FIFA's handling of these proceedings, whatever it ends up being, change your view of whether the institution is capable of applying its own rules fairly when the parties involved are among football's most prominent?